Good afternoon, all. The handout on constitutional reforms will reach you in few more minutes. I just now finalized it. So we'll take these questions up later. Now we'll continue with the discussion. Answer Becca. Huh? ನಂಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ನೀವೇನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. Which statement? Direct demand was not there. Moral of the story ಅದೇ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ. Now see, after Surat split, ಇದು ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ತಾಳೋ, ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಲಿಟ್ಟನ್ ರಿಪ್ಪನ್ಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ತಾಳೋ. After Surat split, there was passive phase from and in this passive phase there was first phase of revolutionary activities. Okay, and as a consequence, as I told you, Minto's laws. What were the laws? What was the code? Shimla news mail. So mainly because of this newspaper act, explosive acts, okay, seditious meetings act, Tilak was arrested, sentenced to imprisonment of 6 years. Okay, Tilak 6 years. Bipin Chandra Paul retired. Aurobindo Ghosh took up the spiritual path. Lala Lajpat Rai, Ajit Singh, and even Chidambaram Pillai, they were all arrested. So national movement entered into passive phase completely. Under moderates, INC became inactive because moderates, as you all know, prayer, petition, protest. So national movement all of a sudden lost the momentum. Okay, masses lost belief in INC because there was no leader who could lead them in right direction, and it is the policy of moderates that they are not going to entertain the masses. So obviously, masses entered into passivity. There was no leaders to lead them. They did not have a definite goal. They did not know what to do. And what does moderates think about the masses? Masses are illiterates, ignorant. They don't know anything. So since masses are illiterate, ignorant, and divided on the lines of caste, religion, etc., they can't do anything. So we have to do. We are the representatives. We are the educated. We are the elites. So we have to work on behalf of the masses. That was their belief. So they started doing every work. They completely ignored the masses. So when masses remained away, the national movement entered into passive phase. Whereas some youth who had entered into the Swadeshi movement with great objectives of achieving Swaraj and all, they took up the revolutionary path because that was the only path which promised immediate independence, immediate end of British rule or immediate achievement of Swaraj. That was the only path. Moderate, long-term agenda. Extremist, mid-term agenda. Immediate success, revolutionary. That's all. So youth entered into revolutionary activities, but at the same point of time, there was First World War from 1914 to 1918. And whenever there is war, the British Empire will become very aggressive. Therefore, there will be extreme suppression of nationalist movement or nationalism. And now, who was active? Revolutionaries. The revolutionaries met with extreme suppression. Okay, so Okay. And then as a result of this, the passivity increased. Fine. And later, after 6 years, Tilak was released, and Tilak wanted to take advantage of the situation. So Tilak, he decided to start Home Rule League. Okay. So what is Home Rule? Home Rule means self-rule. What is self-rule? Swaraj. Okay. So now open your handouts. Okay. Second page is all about HRL and the later things. So, HRL, so remember, it started as a limited movement. Because it's a time of First World War. Tilak is just out of jail. If Tilak try to make it as a mass movement, Tilak will be arrested again. So national movement will continue in the passive phase. So Tilak had to be very cautious not to trigger the British. Therefore, he kept it as a limited movement. Okay. So he told, I am not going to associate the masses with this. I am going to keep it as a limited movement. Okay. And why it was started? Mainly because of the situational factors. So post Surat split, there was a stagnation in the national movement, passivity. Tilak wanted to break this passivity or stagnation, revive the national movement. Okay. And during the First World War, there was severe suppression. As I told you, whenever there is war, empire will become very aggressive to protect its empire and its interests in India. So out of that aggression, any nationalist forces can be suppressed very badly. So there was severe suppression. Tilak wanted to stop that. Okay. So later, you all know moderates. They had become inactive. They have become irrelevant by this point. And INC sessions, there was no great outcomes. It has become part of ritual. Every December they used to meet. It had become tea party politics. They used to call it as tea party politics. So they used to have tea together. They used to do some photo ops, end the session. There was no major outcomes, especially during the passive phase. Fine. Like after the session of 1907, 1907 session is also known for Surat split. After 1907 till 1916, you will not remember. I mean, none of the sessions are worth remembering. There was no significant outcome. There was no effective outcome that will benefit the national movement. Okay. So whether it was 1908, 1909, 1910 till 1915, all the sessions were ritualistic in nature. It did not benefit the national movement in any way. Because look at 1906, what was given as the resolution? Swaraj, Swadeshi, national education, boycott. 1905, boycott, condemning the partition of Bengal. See, there were some big things. It gave a direction, it gave a sense, it gave a purpose to the national movement. Going forward, national movement will try to achieve Swaraj. Will try to promote Swadeshi. Will try to promote national education. Will boycott the British goods. Like that, it gave a purpose. But after 1908, it was mere ritualistic. No major outcome. It did not give a purpose or a direction to the masses. Because moderates lost their significance. They had become kind of irrelevant in that situation. Their politics of petition was not working. Their politics of petition not at all working. So now, listen. So the inspiration was by Irish Home Rule League. Okay. I had already told you 10 years ago only Ireland had switched to mass movement. Now they had started Home Rule League, and Britishers were under severe pressure. Britishers assured, okay, we will give you home rule. British had already assured Irish people that they will be given home rule. So we thought, okay, this is the First World War times. Britishers will require money, men and material from India. Three important supports from India. Revenue, soldiers and also resources to fight the war, whether it is iron ore, coal, food grains. So they require all three things, money, men and material from India. For that they require Indian support. Because they require Indian support and they are in vulnerable situation, we can use this for our advantage. We'll build some pressure on them. We'll assure them we will support you during the war, and after the end of the war you should give us this. Bargaining. Okay, we will give you what you want, money, men and material, but after the war we want this. Wholeheartedly we will give, we will not resist. After the war we want this. We wanted to use this situation for bargaining power. So bargaining does not happen on blank paper. First you have to show that you have the capacity. First Tilak has to show, see, I have got the supports of so many people, thousands of them. So if you are ready to give us what we want, we will keep quiet. If you deny our demands, we will start resisting. So your war efforts will be compromised. You might face setbacks in Europe. So if you want India to be peaceful, give us what we want. First we have to show our strength. Understood? So for that, Tilak has to create an awareness campaign. He has to start this movement to bring together the Indian masses, especially the educated ones. Understood? HRL was not for everyone. HRL was mainly meant for educated ones. Understood? That was the idea of Tilak. And then eventually everybody joined, but initially started it as a limited movement. Okay? Because if he says mass movement, Britishers are going to suppress him very badly. He knew the consequence. And now, see, the second inspiration was the iconic statement by Tilak, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. This became the source of inspiration for the youth, and this inspired youth to enter into HRL and support it in large numbers. Okay, so youth formed the backbone of HRL also. And then, see, why HRL started now? Because First World War, everybody thought Britishers are going to win it very conveniently and comfortably. It is going to be easy win for them, Britishers. But Germany exposed the vulnerabilities of British defense, because Germans had made a lot of inventions, submarines, etc. So like they did a lot of damages to British. Therefore the war continued for over 4 years. The war, which was thought to be over in 4 months, continued for over 4 years. So Britishers, whatever the storage of resources they had, the reservoir of resources they had, it was about to be exhausted. Therefore they were vulnerable. They needed Indian support now. First 2 years everything was over with them. Now they need to extract more resources, and at this point of time, this is a crucial moment. War is balanced now, anybody can win, and in this situation, they do not want any disturbance in India. They want peace, they want stability, so that they can easily gather money, men and resources. This was their idea. So the First World War exposed the vulnerability of British, the strongest power in the world, and we wanted to utilize it for our advantage. We were ready to give whatever they want, but we started bargaining. And to bargain also, you need to have a strength. Understood? And to bargain also, you need to have a strength. You need to show that you are capable of. Okay? See, imagine some other normal leader. Let's assume Firoz Shah Mehta. If he says to British, if you don't give self-rule after the war, I am going to disrupt your war efforts. Will Britishers be scared? If Tilak is saying it, they will take it seriously, because Tilak is a mass leader. But now Tilak is out of jail. Tilak has to show that he still got the mass support. For that he needed HRL. He want to portray to everyone that he is still the leader of the Indian masses. He still got the support, he still got the following, he is still the leader. So for that, he had to bring together his followers, and that movement was HRL. Okay? So that is what I have written. Britain's vulnerability was exposed, and they critically needed Indians' war support, money, men and material. which increased our bargaining power. Okay. Therefore, what we told them, Guru, like, we will give you the support in a peaceful way. You give us what we want, self-rule. So HRL, it signified a return to constitutional agitation. I told you, this is not a mass movement. This is a limited movement. Understood? So it was not a retreat from the nationalism. Rather, it gave boost to the nationalism. So who are the leaders? Tilak, by default leader, and he was joined by Annie Besant. Why Annie Besant? It's a curious thing. So I have discussed almost all the points related to Annie Besant, almost all our association related to Indian national movement and Indian social reforms. I tried to condense it here. So Annie Besant has got a social reform angle also. Annie Besant has got a political angle also. I tried to bring together both of it. Okay. So why Annie Besant, like, why she entered into HRL? She was from Irish origin. She was naturally sympathetic towards Indians. That was the first thing. Secondly, she was a proponent of British radicalism, free thinking, all these things. She was not bound by any ideology, any limitations. Okay. And she came to India as a part of Theosophical Society. She is not the founder. There are two founders. Who are they? Madam Blavatsky and Colonel Olcott. Theosophical Society was founded in USA. Blavatsky and Olcott. The UPSC once gave a statement. Annie Besant is the founder of Theosophical Society. Please thank him. He postponed his lunch to get your work done. Mansalirli. Okay. And he worked for cultural and spiritual regeneration. Earlier, as a part of Theosophical Society, what is Theosophy? Study of religion. Theosophy means study of religion. He came to India as a part of Theosophical Society. He was studying Indian religion. He understood the greatness of Indian religion, Indian culture, India's past. She wanted to revive it. And she understood, to revive the greatness of Indian culture, Indian religion, we need to get rid of colonial rule. As long as Britishers are there, India will be exploited. India can never go back to its glory. Therefore, she joined the national movement. Okay. So that is what I have written. So she thought culture and spiritual regeneration as a prelude to political self-rule. Once India becomes independent, we can, like, today we are, like, what do you say, Vishwaguru, no? After we got independence, today we are Vishwaguru. But under British, can we become Vishwaguru? Understood? That is the difference. So without political self-rule, we cannot become Vishwaguru. Today we are. So, serious activity. Next one. He believed in education as an important tool of nation building. See, already nationalists were establishing national schools and colleges. He also gave a little contribution by helping the establishment of Central Hindu College. Okay, Central Hindu College, UP. Central Hindu College. And then eventually she shifted from the socio-religious reforms to constitutional politics during the times of First World War. Okay, and he also negotiated with moderate leaders, Firozshah Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and demanded them to allow re-entry of Tilak into INC. He tried to convince them, but both of them did not agree. That's a different story. Want to say something? Fine. And she started HRL from Madras in September 1916 with the help of three important people. S. Subramanian Iyer, S. Subramaniam Iyer, George Arundale, and BP Wadia. George Arundale, and B.P. Wadia. C.S. Subramanian Iyer is a less known personality, but he is known as the Grand Old Man of South India. Just like Dadabhai Naoroji is called as Grand Old Man of India, Subramanian Iyer is called as Grand Old Man of South India. He served as the member of VEC, Viceroy's Executive Council. Okay. 1920 onwards, he served as a member of VEC. Yenappa? It is not Annie Besant. He came to India as a part of Theosophical Society. Annie Besant na Theosophical Society founder andre nanne answer. She is not the founder. Aitenappa? If you like Annie Besant, it's okay, but don't give the status of founder to her. Illamma. No. He came to India as a part of it. The branch of Theosophical Society was opened in India and Annie Besant came to lead it. She is not the founder, she is a leader. There is a difference between leader and founder. Yesterday I have told you, Tilak was the leader of INC but not the founder of INC. Dadabhai Naoroji is both founder and leader of INC. Artha aitenappa? Founder, it's a status. Yarigandru avrige kodakagalla. Sarina? Okay. Yes, Subramania Iyer, as I told you, two important points. And from 1920, he served as a member of VEC. Try to know which portfolio or which member he was. SP Sinha, first Indian. Law member. Subramanian Iyer, try to know which portfolio. Okay. He was the honorary president of Annie Besant's HRL. Write down one more point about him. Honorary president, Gauravadhyaksha. Honorary president of Annie Besant's HRL. Okay. Honorary president of Annie Besant's HRL. Okay. There are two versions of HRL. One led by Tilak, another led by Annie Besant. Tilak's version of HRL, Bombay province, Central province, Karnataka region, Berar region, excluding Bombay city. Bombay province, excluding Bombay city, Karnataka region, Belgaum, Dharwad, etc. Central provinces, today's Madhya Pradesh, and Berar region, not Bihar, Berar. Annie Besant, rest of India. She started from Madras. Her version was prevalent rest of India, including Bombay city. Including Bombay city. Okay. So there are two versions. Who was the honorary president of Annie Besant's version? Yes, Subramania Iyer. And George Arundale, Anglo-Indian. He is not very important. He helped Annie Besant in organizing HRL, but his wife is very important. Rukmini Devi Arundale. Rukmini Devi Arundale, founder of Kalakshetra. And because of Kalakshetra, Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi were revived. Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi were revived. Two important classical dances revived because of Kalakshetra. Earlier, Bharatanatyam was called as temple dance, which was majorly performed by Devadasis. So normal women, girls, they were not they had a taboo towards Bharatanatyam. They were not interested in learning Bharatanatyam because it had a bad image. It was learnt and performed by Devadasis. So it was reformed and revived by Rukmini Devi Arundale. She was the one who popularized Bharatanatyam under her organization Kalakshetra. And after independence, she was the first woman to be nominated as a member of Rajya Sabha. First women to be nominated as a member of Rajya Sabha. And because of her role only, she played a major role in setting up of Animal Welfare Board of India, and also passing of Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals Act. Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals Act. Rukmini Devi Arundale. Animal Welfare Board of India and Prevention of Cruelty Act. She is the main architect. Okay. Fine. So now let us proceed to the next point. See, earlier, in the earlier handout, I had given the list of newspapers which contributed for mobilizing the masses during Swadeshi movement. Kesari, Maharatha, Bengali, New India, Karma Yogi, Vande Mataram, Sandhya. I have given the list. And I have also given the list of editors. Understood? The newspaper Hindu, founded in 1878. And who was the founding editor of that newspaper? Subramanian Iyer. Let's say Subramanian Iyer died in 1900. After 1900 also Hindu survived, no? Even today we are reading it. How? Because editors change over the time. Newspaper will continue, but editors keep on changing. Similarly, New India, it was founded. And during the times of Swadeshi movement, who was the editor? Bipin Chandrapal. And during the times of HRL, who was the editor of New India? Annie Besant. Vande Mataram, it was founded. Who was the editor during Swadeshi movement? Aurobindo Ghosh. So whatever I have given, you have to talk about the editor. Understood? Who was the editor of those newspapers at the time? I am giving the list. I am not talking about the founders. I am only talking about the editor, Sampadakaru. Because the stance of the newspaper will majorly depend on the editors. Whether they are going to support the British, oppose the British, support Swadeshi movement or keep quiet, it depends on editors. So at that time, the editors of all those newspapers, they decided to support Swadeshi movement. So who are the editors? That is the list you are writing. They are not the founders, they are the editors. I hope now there is no confusion. Fine. Because newspaper will continue to live. Whether the founder lived or died, newspaper will continue. Today I will be the editor, tomorrow I might resign, something might happen to me, some other person will become the editor. Obviously the newspaper, the legacy will continue, editors will change. So keep that in mind. Hindu founded in 1878. Is Subramanian Iyer still the editor? First editor, founder and the first editor, that is fine. But is he still the editor? Editors change. After Subramanian Iyer, Hindu has witnessed, it has seen numerous editors. Fine? So whatever I have given, even during HRL, I have given two newspapers, like under Annie Besant, New India and Commonweal. Annie Besant is not the founder of New India. She was the editor during HRL. Similarly, Commonweal, she was the editor during HRL. Okay? See, UPSC, most of the times will ask which of the following, and even if they have matched the following, they'll ask which of the following personalities were associated with this newspaper. Were associated. Understood? They'll not directly, most of the times, they'll not directly ask for the founder, editor, not like that. They will ask associated. They will give the broad term. So you don't have to worry, don't get confused. Okay? So New India and Commonweal. Why newspapers are used? Political education, mobilize the opinion, okay? Spread the awareness, criticize the British rule, like that. Okay? And then she was the first woman to serve as the president of INC. Okay. So was she the first Indian woman? Sarojini Naidu. Artha aitama? This is kind of difference between founder and leader. Right? She is a woman, but she is not Indian woman. Indian status kodbedi. She is a foreign lady. Okay. And then I have just written franchisee committee. So below franchisee committee, write down a name. The name of the franchisee committee was purposefully not mentioned. Now write it down. Name of the franchisee committee was Southborough Committee. Southborough Committee. In 1909 also, Britishers continued with indirect elections. So moderates and the nationalists, we started demanding very badly. We started pressurizing them very badly. We want direct elections in India, that's all. So now if they are about to conduct direct elections, they should identify the voters. No? They should set conditions. Today, 18 years of age is the only condition. But Britishers back then, not ready to give voting rights to all. So they wanted to set conditions, they wanted to delimit the constituencies. They have to decide who should be given the voting rights, what should be the age, what should be the qualification, etc. For that, they set up this committee. Southborough Committee on Franchisee or Southborough Franchisee Committee. So they will decide who will be allowed to vote, who will not be allowed. The conditions, qualifications, everything will be decided by Southborough Committee. And Annie Besant went to Southborough Committee along with Sarojini Naidu and she requested the voting rights for Indian women. She told in the elections of 1919, Indian women should be allowed to vote. Understood? She demanded. That was the demand. That is the reason she met Southborough to demand voting rights for Indian women. Okay? And then later, she was also associated with Margaret Cousins. And Margaret Cousins were the ones who formed All India Women's Conference. I just written the acronym, short form, AIWC. All India Women's Conference. And this organization played an important role in getting the contesting rights for Indian women. Earlier we got the voting rights. Now, right to contest the elections, not just vote. In bracket, contesting rights. Okay. So when everything was going right with regard to HRL, there was a lot of pressure that built on British, and Britishers gave August Declaration. They agreed, at least in declaration, they agreed to almost all the demands put forward by Tilak. So as soon as August Declaration was given, Annie Besant told, since Britishers have agreed to the demands of Indians, there is no need of continuing HRL. See, what was the objectives of HRL? Everything Britishers have agreed. So there is no need to continue HRL. We'll stop it. But Tilak wanted to continue. Annie Besant wanted to stop. So at that point of time, Annie Besant, she started supporting the British and urged Indians to keep calm. She told, wait till the First World War is over. Later we will get the reforms. Don't do anything now. Now Britishers have agreed to fulfill almost all your demands. So there is no meaning in continuing HRL. And Tilak wanted to continue. Who is the most popular among both of them? Tilak. So now, when she told this, she lost her political relevance. She lost her political relevance. She, after this event, after 1917-18, she'll confine herself mostly to activities of Theosophical Society and activities related to women voting rights, women contesting rights, all these things. She had no instrumental or important role with regard to national movement. After 1917-18, she lost her relevance. The moment she deferred with Tilak and started supporting British, Indians lost trust in her. She lost her momentum, political momentum in India. Okay. So this is the story of Annie Besant. And with regard to the objectives of HRL, it was a constitutional agitation which aimed at providing the political education to the masses. The situation has changed, Tilak has come back, okay, to providing the political education to the masses and reviving the national movement. Tell them, don't worry, Tilak is back, so you can come back. Masses, you don't have to worry, you can come back. Because during the first phase of revolutionary activities, no, Britishers, they were extremely aggressive. Even if you chant Vande Mataram, you can be branded as a revolutionary. Understood? Like that, they went to extremes. So masses were scared of nationalist activities. Now, we started educating the masses. Okay, Tilak is back. You don't have to be scared. So come back. So that campaigning, revival of national movement, educating the masses about the change in circumstances, that was done during, that was one of the objectives. Reviving the mass movement was one of the objectives. And the second important thing was they demanded increased representation for Indians in administration. Okay? So whether it is Viceroy's Executive Council, whether it is civil services, whether it is legislature, we wanted increased representation. This is our country, we pay the taxes, so we deserve. In American Revolution, no, there was one catchphrase, no taxation without representation. Americans started this movement against the British. So in India also, we started demanding the similar kind of thing. So you collect taxes from us, so give us more representation. So that was the demand. And then ultimately, Swaraj. Now, Tilak gave a definition of Swaraj. Swaraj means self-rule under British crown. Indians will rule India, but India will be the part of British Empire. India will remain as a colony of British. See, that is the reason I told you they did not directly demand independence. Last question that we solved, they did not directly demand independence. Phased, step by step. Moderates, more steps. Extremists, less steps. But this was one of the steps. So wherever we are, boycott, Swadeshi movement, everything. Later, self-rule under British. Later, complete independence. That was the idea. Okay. And then promotion of formation of linguistic provinces. Okay. Karnataka for Kannadigas, Tamil Nadu for Tamilians, Kerala for Malayali speaking people, like that. Why? Because it will help the spread of vernacular education. Literacy rate was very low. Less than 10% were literates. And if you want to promote the spread of literacy, Tilak thought having linguistic states is very important for spread of vernacular education. Because most of the provinces in India were multilingual. For example, in Madras, today's Tirupati, Nellore, Chittoor, they were also the part of Madras province. Ballari, Raichur, Kolar, some parts of it were also the part of Madras province. Some parts of Kerala also with Madras province. And almost entire Tamil Nadu with Madras province. How many languages? Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. Understood? Let's say we will start Tamil medium schools. Will it help Telugu speaking people? Will it help Kannadigas? Will it help Malayalis? No. But if you have separate states, if you have Karnataka, if you open Kannada medium schools, that will contribute to the spread of education. So that was the idea of Tilak. So this idea of Tilak reverberated later, even after independence. Because after independence, this was the major step. Reorganization of states. 1956, States Reorganization Act, lot of committees, all these things. So what was the basis for all these things? Tilak's demands. Tilak was the first major leader to advocate linguistic reorganization of provinces. Because he felt that it will be conducive for the spread of vernacular education and thereby literacy among Indians. Okay. So, moderates and the First World War First World War, what was the opinion? Right now, purposefully left blank, fill it up, fill in the blanks. What do you think? Did they support or oppose? Unconditional support to the British war efforts as a matter of duty. Unconditional support to the British war efforts as a matter of duty. Okay. So they were completely loyal to British. They assumed themselves as British citizens. When your country is fighting the war, will you put conditions to support your country? Unconditional support, matter of duty. But extremists, especially Tilak, conditional support to British war efforts. Conditional support to British war efforts. We will support definitely, but we have conditions. What was the condition? That is self-rule after the war. Demanded self-rule after the war. Demanded self-rule after the war. Are you able to comprehend what I have written? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ರು. ನನಗೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಡೌಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೇಳಿದೆ. ಐ ಯೂಸ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ and then the features of HRL, territorial differences. Some parts were under the control of Tilak's HRL, some parts were under the control of Annie Besant's HRL. I already told you. Bombay, Karnataka, central provinces and Berar region under Tilak, except Bombay city, and Madras, rest of India including Bombay city under Annie Besant. Okay. Tilak purposefully gave more urban cities, urban areas, urbanized areas to Annie Besant, because in urban areas nationalism is already there. So Tilak wanted to focus on rural areas. He wanted to spread nationalism in real India, where 90% of population lives, because Tilak knew if 90% of population remain away from the national movement, national struggle cannot be successful. So he wanted to focus more on rural areas. Therefore, he gave the urban areas purposefully to Annie Besant, whether it is Delhi, Madras, Bombay or Calcutta. All four important urban centers of India were under the control of Annie Besant. Okay. Tilak did it purposefully. Because in urban areas, you need not have to do anything extra. Masses already have the touch of nationalism. They are educated. They can be easily drawn into HRL. But rural areas, masses don't know what is nationalism. You have to put in a lot of efforts. Novel methods you have to use. You have to connect with them more frequently. You have to use vernacular languages. Urban people, you all know, like most of them might be familiar with English, but rural masses, you have to connect with them in the vernacular languages. So Annie Besant, can you expect her? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತೇನಪ್ಪ? ಬೆಳಗಾವಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ ಅವರು? ಮಹಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮರಾಠಿ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ? ಆಗಲ್ಲ. So Tilak can manage, but as a foreign lady she can't manage. So Tilak thought, let her manage the urban centers, I'll manage the real India. Okay. And then role of press, pamphlets, study circle, lecture tours, etc. So when I say it earlier, constitutional methods, all these things constitute constitutional methods. Press, pamphlets, study circle, lecture tours. No mass agitation, no mass gathering, no boycott, nothing during HR. Most of the methods that were used were constitutional methods. Okay. And because of these methods, there was spread of awareness, increase in political education, and increase in awareness about Swaraj. Increased demand for Swaraj. Okay. So now, what was the unique thing about HRL was, it built the constitutional pressure on British without resorting to civil disobedience. Without violating any law, we built the pressure on the British to give us Swaraj. What is civil disobedience? Violating the laws. Resorting to extra constitutional things. So here we did not do any of it. We used the constitutional methods to build the constitutional pressure on British so as to get the self-rule. We did not resort to what? Disobedience. Okay? Because if Tilak disobeys, he will be suppressed. He will be arrested, he will be interned. So again, national movement will be entering into passive phase. Okay? And then Tilak's approach was very special during HRL because he maintained secular approach. Would I find it right? No religious appeal. No religious appeal. Tilak did not resort to any religious appeal during HRL. He tried to maintain it in a very secular way. Secondly, anti-untouchability stance. Anti-untouchability stance. Okay? And after Tilak, his son continued this good work against untouchability. Okay? So last year they talked about Malaviya and his son. So probability, this year they might talk about Tilak and his son. So Sridhar Tilak. So he continued the good work of his father against untouchability. Ambedkar during his initial days, he was also associated with Sridhar Tilak. Okay? In 1917 and all, Ambedkar was also associated with Tilak's son. Later, Ambedkar had independent stance. He continued, he took his own way. He carved out his own niche. But now, that was a different story. Okay? And then, a lot of youngsters joined HRL. Okay? Whether it was G.B. Pant, C. Rajagopalachari, Jawaharlal Nehru, Motilal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, lot of people joined, and the significant thing or the special thing about this is most of these leaders later became the pillars of the national movement, the prominent leaders of the national movement. Okay, you cannot imagine the national movement without Chacha. Constituent Assembly without Rajendra Prasad. Can you imagine? Similarly, especially Chacha, very important. Okay, when did Chacha join the national movement? During HRL. Know this. Okay, the outcome of HRL, revival of nationalism. So passive phase to active again. Okay, Lucknow Pact of 1916. Lucknow Pact of 1916. Besides that, right on, who was the president of the Lucknow session? Ambika Allah Kanalo. Ambika Charan Majumdar. A.C. Majumdar. Ambika Charan Majumdar. Men or women? Correct, Kanappa. Ilandra Annie Besant, how can she be called as first women to preside INC? At least by that logic. Ambika Charan Majumdar. Men. Okay, and there were three important decisions that were taken during what? Lucknow session. So what were the three important decisions? Okay, the agreement that happened during Lucknow session, we call it as Lucknow Pact, December 1916. So there is one simple code. Okay, so INC agreed for separate communal electorates. INC agreed for separate communal electorates. Okay. And INC agreed for friendship with Muslim League. And there was moderate extremist reunity. They were reunited. Okay. People conveniently forget the first point. They only remember the second and the third point. But don't do that. The INC Muslim League unity couldn't have been achieved without INC accepting the separate electorates. Because after 1909, INC had been consistently opposing the separate electorates. They passed a lot of resolutions against separate electorates. Okay? See, whether these resolutions had any effect on British rule, that is immaterial now. But what I want to convey is they had a clear stance against separate electorate for Muslims. They were not okay with it. They did not welcome it. And now they changed their opinion. They told, okay, we are ready to accept separate electorate. And this cleared the differences between Muslim League and INC. If INC had continued to oppose the separate electorate, this would have been one stone wall between INC and Muslim League, and there was no way of unity between them. The moment INC told we are ready to accept separate electorate, that cleared the path for unity of INC and Muslim League. Okay? And there are a lot of reasons why they got together. First thing, what? Khalifa. See, the first point, in 1912 and 13, lot of Eastern European countries which got independence, Greece, etc., they attacked Turkey. Because Turkey was ruling over most of Eastern European countries. Serbia, Czechoslovakia, all these countries, they were under the control of Turkey. Yes, Roman Empire alama, Ottoman Empire. 1 second, nintogittu. You are right. Ottoman Empire. So, these countries, Serbia, Greece, as soon as it got independent, no, they had this long pending grudge against Turkey for ruling them against their consent. So what they did? They took revenge by attacking Turkey at its weakest point. The Indian Muslims and Muslims across the world, they demanded British stop the war, assist Turkey. But British did not interfere because they have got nothing to gain or lose through this war. Okay? They were preparing for the major war against Germany. They did not want to distract themselves, embroiling themselves into this petty disputes at that time. They were not really interested. Their major focus was Germany. Secondly, during the First World War, Khalifa entered into the war against British. So the Muslim sentiments clearly was against British now. Understood? See, the Muslims in India or in the different parts of the world, they respected Khalifa as both religious as well as political leader. Religious as well as political leader. So the Muslim masses were loyal to him. So when he went against the British, Indian Muslim sentiment also turned against British, especially the leaders. And now these leaders, they started criticizing the British actions during the First World War using their newspapers. There was Hazrat Mohani, Ali brothers, Maulana Azad, etc. They started criticizing the British. And British, see, I told you First World War. During the war, they will be extra aggressive. So when you criticize them, obviously will Britishers keep quiet. These leaders, whether it was Muslims or whoever criticized the British, they were arrested and the newspapers were seized. So this angered the Muslim leaders even further. First thing, Britishers did not help Turkey in its difficult times. Disappointed. Second thing, when Khalifa entered into war against British, Indian Muslim masses, they grew against British. Thirdly, when we criticized, when we expressed our anger against British, we were suppressed. So that became the trigger point. That became the trigger point. Understood? Now Muslim League was under the influence of young leaders, young blood. Ali brothers, Asrat Mohani, etc. They were the young blood, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, etc. So they were not completely okay with founding elements. Who are the founding elements? Aga Khan, Nawab Salimullah, etc. They had pro-British agenda. But now the younger blood, they are not ready to accept. Just like in INC, first group loyal to British, extremists not loyal to British. Similarly, within Muslim League also, the founding group loyal to British, new group not loyal to British. Understood? So this was the situation. Fine. Therefore, Muslim League decided to join hands with INC. And for that they put one condition. You should accept separate electorate. INC accepted. That paved the way for, that cleared the path for INC Muslim League reapproachment. And at the same time there was moderate extremist unity. Extremists led by Tilak were allowed to rejoin INC. So INC became very stronger now. Because there is unity. Together we stand, divided we fall. Surat split, divided, national movement passive. Lucknow Pact, united, national movement will become stronger. Now Tilak, he got re-energized. And by this time, HRL had registered thousands of membership all across the country. Now masses also got awakened, thousands had joined. So now, Tilak wanted to prove, he wanted to transform this limited movement into a mass movement. Tilak started showing his true colors. Now he's got the INC together. Masses started supporting him again. The nation got revived from passive phase to active phase. Now Tilak, that is all he wanted. Now he wanted to show his true colors. He wanted to shift from limited movement to mass movement. A constitutional movement to mass movement. He wanted to use extra legal methods. Boycott, passive resistance, etc. But moderates told, Tilak, First World War, Papa British, you shouldn't use extra legal methods like passive resistance. But Tilak was not ready. And at the same point of time, when the pressure started mounting on British, initially they resorted to repression. They arrested Besant, they arrested Tilak, many top leaders. But at the same point of time, they also announced August Declaration. And August Declaration was given by Secretary of State. That is the significance. And who is Secretary of State? We'll come to it. We'll come to it. Because I am expecting one major question about Secretary of State or Council of India, this prelims. Because 2 years ago they asked about when was the position of Governor General of Bengal came to be known as Governor General of India. So going by that logic, this year we can have a question about the position of Viceroy or Secretary of State, the composition of Secretary of State's Advisory Council, when it was set up, why it was set up, what were their duties, functions, etc. UPSC can go into it, 1 layer or 2 layer deeper. So we'll go to it. That will be our next topic of discussion. As soon as we take up the constitutional reforms, when we reach the Government of India Act 1858, we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it. So we'll deal with it in a very proper way. Okay. So now, August Declaration. In August Declaration, there were 3 to 4 very important points. You have to remember these important points. One is increasing the association of Indians. So remember this. Always remember this. August Declaration, I grasp. So I stands for increasing association of Indians. Increasing the association of Indians. GR stands for gradual development of self-governing institutions. Means Swaraj. Gradual development. Does it mean immediate development? No. Does it mean will they give us Swaraj immediately? No. Gradual, step by step, phased manner. Step by step or in a phased manner. Phase 1, phase 2, like that. Step by step approach. They are going to give us Swaraj, but in a step by step approach. Okay? Self-governing institutions. And they also told introduction of responsible government. In India, as an integral part of British Empire. As an integral part of British Empire. What is responsible government? Executive will be responsible to legislature. Council of Ministers will be responsible to legislature. That is responsible government. So British told, we'll give you self-rule also, we'll make the governments responsible also, we'll increase the association of Indians also, but in a gradual manner. Gradual development. And they also told one more very important thing. India is an integral part of British Empire. That shows the importance of India to British. India is an integral part of British Empire. Okay. So this is August Declaration. You need to remember the entire statement of this. That is the reason. And exactly after August Declaration, Besant will change their stance. Okay. But still, in December 1917, we make her the first women president of INC. And after that, she will lose her relevance. 1917 was the peak for her. Okay. And write down one small point there. Jinnah played instrumental role in uniting INC and Muslim League. Jinnah played instrumental role in uniting INC and Muslim League. Instrumental role in uniting INC and Muslim League. Put hyphen and write member of both parties. Member of both parties. Put hyphen and write Sarojini Naidu called him as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Sarojini Naidu called him as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Do you want typed copies or handwritten copies? Which one do you prefer? Typed I can dump easily. Okay, I'll give typed only. Or handwriting is actually. Specs ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ಯಲ್ಲಮ್ಮ Okay, I'll see. If I have time to write, I'll give handwritten. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಳದ್ ಬಿಸಾಕೊಂಡು ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಸೋಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅದನ್ನ. ದಡಿ ಹಿಡಿಯೋದು ಸೋಸೋದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ. See, while writing, I don't include any junk. There is no complete statement or sentence in this. Okay? But if I have to type, copy, paste and all, typing is my weakest part. Irony is I am a computer science engineer. So my typing speed is like 4 to 5 words per minute. I'll be more comfortable in copy pasting. So while copy pasting, especially using your mobile and all, is not very comfortable. I'll not have patience to edit, but I'll see if I can write. I'll write. If not, ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಮಾ, ನಿಂಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ನೀನೇ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡು. ಡಂಡಿಲ್ ಡೀಲಾ? ಐಡಿಯಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಚಾಟ್ GPT ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು? ಅದು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇಟ್ಟು ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. I will try. Okay, so I'll try to keep it in written format as much as possible, but in worst case scenario, ಏನಪ್ಪ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಇದೆಯೇನೋ ನಾನು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಪೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರೋ ಥರ. I will try. ಸರಿನಾ? Tomorrow it will be about Gandhian movement, no? Gandhi, I will dictate. Aita? I'll see. I'll write down the minimal things, whatever is important. Rest of the things I'll try to dictate. Aita? And tomorrow I think we'll be almost over with the Gandhian phase. And ನಾಳೆ ಯಾವ ದಿನ? 3ನೇ ದಿವಸನ? Saturday ಅಷ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ it will be over. Don't worry. In worst case it might go on Sunday also. Worst case scenario. ನನಗೂ ಸಂಡೇ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಇವಾಗ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಡೋಂಟ್ ವರಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ದು ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ದು ನನಗೆ ಕೈ ನೋವು ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗೆ ಬರಕ್ ಮುಂಚೆ ಒಗದಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ ಬಾ, ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗೋಸಲು ಒಣಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತದೆ. ನಾನು ಅವಾಗಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ ಐತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ತರಲೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ್ರಿ ಅಂತ. ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ರನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಹ್ಞೂ ಪಕ್ಕಾ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳ್ತಿರೋ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಇದು 5 ದಿವಸ ಲೈವ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ. ಸರಿನಾ? ನೀನ್ ಸ್ವೀಟ್ ಅಂಗಡಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವೀಟ್ ಪೀಸ್ 1 ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, 2 kg ಡೆಮೋ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. ಆಯ್ತೇನಪ್ಪ? ಬೇಕರಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಬೆಣ್ಣೆ ಮುರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಸರ್ ತಿನ್ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಪಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಹಂಗಿದು 1 ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ 2 ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಫುಲ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಆಫ್ಲೈನ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬನ್ನಿ, ನಾನು ನೋಡ್ಕೊತೀನಿ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ನು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಬನ್ನಿ, ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆನ್ಲೈನು ಲೈವ್ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ. ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ ಟುಡೇ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಎಂಡ್, ಬಟ್ ಆಫ್ಲೈನ್ ನನ್ನ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮುಗಿಯೋವರೆಗೂ ಬನ್ನಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇಷ್ಟ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಇನ್ನು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ನು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಬನ್ನಿ, ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ಸು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕೊಡೋಣ. ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ತುಂಬಿಸಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ 3 days ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಇದು ಯಾಕೋ ತಗೊಂಬಂದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನಾವು August declaration. I've explained these terms, what they mean. Gradual development means staged, controlled, phased transfer. Not immediate, not holistic. Okay? Stage wise, phase wise. Eventually, it will be transferred. Self-governing institutions. According to us, when they mentioned the self-government or self-governing institutions, we thought they are going to give us self-rule, dominion status. But what British meant? They wanted to give us council with limited powers. According to them, self-governing institution means council with limited powers, but according to us, what we expected was self-rule. Because we had supported them during the First World War, no? We thought they are going to give us self-rule. Okay? Responsible government, you all know, executive being accountable to legislature. Why they gave August Declaration in 1917? Because, as I told you, war was balanced. Even in the beginning of 1917, war was balanced. It was neither in favor of British nor in favor of Germany. So, that pressure was there. They had to win the war to maintain that bossism over the world. And HRL agitation was getting stronger with every passing day. And Tilak wanted to transform it into a mass movement. His intent was clearly exposed. So, before he does something, we'll make sure it doesn't get big. How? We'll try to fulfill all the demands. Look at the objectives. Increase the representation for Indians, increased. Self-governing institutions, Swaraj or self-rule, self-governing institutions. Okay? So almost all objectives are achieved. So continuing HRL will seem redundant, will seem unnecessary, because most of the objectives are achieved. That is what Besant told us. Look at the objectives, we have achieved most of it. So continuing HRL is redundant. It is not required. But Tilak was like, fine. Now they have just promised, it is just a declaration. And there is a lot of difference between declaration and implementation. Understood? So Tilak wanted immediate gratification. He wanted these reforms to be given to us immediately. Therefore, what he did? He wanted to continue. He wanted to transform this into mass agitation, to build more pressure to gain these reforms immediately. Understood? But Britishers, they were advanced in planning. Next one. August Declaration, they did not promise us dominion status. The UPSC can try to drop you. Therefore, I have given the statement explicitly. Okay? And end of HRL. Why? Organizational weakness. Organizational weakness. Not split. 1908 to 1915. What is it called as? Passive phase. Was organization strong or weak? Weak. That's true. Second one, dissension on methods. Tilak wanted to start extra legal or extra constitutional methods, but moderates wanted to continue with the constitutional methods. Tilak wanted mass movement, moderates wanted the same constitutional methods to continue. There was dissension on methods. And then limited social base. Because after 1908, no constructive activities. Nationalism in passive phase. So social base had not expanded. It remained as it is. So limited social base. Only in urban areas there was some response. Okay? And Besant's change after August Declaration. She stopped supporting HRL. She started supporting British. And Tilak's distraction. Valentino Chirol episode. Valentino Chirol episode. Indian unrest book. Tilak referred to as father of Indian unrest. Tilak went to England to fight a defamation case against him. Tilak got distracted because he had to frequently travel between India and England. Besant is not leading the movement anymore. Who is the only leader left? Tilak. And Tilak himself is distracted. Who is going to lead the movement? No one. Understood? So, that was the thing. And immediate goals were achieved. August Declaration and objectives. Just compare that. Revival of nationalism. It got revived. We demanded increasing representation of Indians. Britishers also agreed. We demanded self-governing institutions. We demanded Swaraj or self-rule. British agreed for self-governing institutions. We misunderstood. We thought self-governing institutions means Swaraj, but they thought council with limited powers. That was their interpretation. English is their language, no? They can interpret however they want.
ನಾವು ಹಂಗೆ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಹಂಗಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳು ಲೇಟರ್. ಫೈನ್. And why they have August declaration? I have given it in the bracket. See, it was a tactical accommodation strategy of British. It cooled down the political temperature in India. And he was distanced. Many moderates also kept quiet because most of the demands satisfied. So it cooled down the political temperature in India. Tilak was kind of alone at this point of time. And later he also got distracted. Therefore HRL had to come to an end. And there are certain points which is not mentioned in the handout. So please write it down. After the end of HRL, its members formed Swarajya Sabha. Its members formed Swarajya Sabha. Okay, in bracket 1919. I mean, cross check it whether it is 19 or 20. Just cross check it once. I'm getting confused. Okay, Swarajya Sabha. Full stop. Now, shall we understand this concept in form of a question? 20. Okay, 20. Make it as 1920. Swarajya Sabha 1920. Now close your mobiles. Just listen. Consider the following statements. After end of HRL, the members of HRL formed Swarajya Sabha 1920. Statement number 1. Okay. Gandhi took the membership of HRL. Gandhi took the membership of HRL. And Gandhi became the chairperson of Swarajya Sabha 1920. Which of the following statements are correct? ಹೇಳಮ್ಮ ಒನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ನಾನೇ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಅದು ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿರಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ನೀನು ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ನಾವು. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ, ಒನ್ ಬೈ ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ನಾವು ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ 3. The statement 2 and 3, they seem logically correlative, correct? No? So if one statement is correct, both will be correct. Yes or no? Say now. It is like A is a carnivorous animal. Carnivorous animal hunts. Right? A eats meat. Third statement. ಹೇಳ್ರಪ್ಪ ಇಷ್ಟು ಕ್ಲೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೂ ನೀವು all will be wrong. 1 and 3. One only. You are stuck between these two. What makes you eliminate option 2? Previous year question. ಯಾವಾಗ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ಇದು ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ. Gandhi was there during the Lucknow session. Tomorrow we will see Gandhi. Okay? We will see where all he went, what all he did, everything. But Lucknow session he was there. Lucknow session marked the unity of moderates and extremists. HRL was also ongoing. HRL started in April 1916. Lucknow session December 1916. When Gandhi came, ನೀವು ಮಾಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಚೀಟಿಗೆ ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕ್ಸ್ಕೊಂತಾರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಲಕ್ಕಿ ಡಿಪಿದೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಂಗೇನಾದ್ರು ಹಾಕ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಕೈಲಿ? ಡಿಸೆಂಬರ್ 1916 HRL ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತಾ? ತಿಲಕ್ ಮನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಜಾರಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೇಳಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನಾನು ಇರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ HRL ಹೆಂಗ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಹೇಳ್ರಪ್ಪ. One only. Because you feel second statement is right. If second statement is right, third will also be correct. Logically correlative. But sometimes logics don't apply to Gandhi. 1 and 3. ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ 1 and 3. Statement 2 is wrong. Gandhi did not subscribe to the membership of HRL, but still Gandhi went on to become the chairperson of Swarajya Sabha. Right down. Shall I add one more statement? ಇವಾಗ ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ? Gandhi was not the member of HRL, but still he went on to be the chairperson of Swarajya Sabha. Logics sometimes don't apply to Gandhi. Okay? Without being the member, he went on to become the president of this organization. Now, since you know the reality of this, I'll give you one more simple question. One more simple statement. During Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhi took the support of the organization of HRL. During Rowlatt Satyagraha, to make Rowlatt Satyagraha successful, Gandhi took the support of or took the help of the organization of HRL. HRL was led by whom? Tilak. Gandhi was Shishya of whom? ಯಾರು MG ರಾನಡೆ ಅಂದಿದ್ದು? ಮಗ ತೊಳ್ಕೊಂಬ ಹೋಗೋ. ಅವನು ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಟ್ರೀ ಬರೀತಾವನೆ. Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Okay, what was the relationship between Gokhale and Tilak? Friends with differing political ideologies, ideological rivalries, but friends. So Gandhi learnt the path into Indian nationalism through whom? Gokhale. Now look at the fourth statement. Say whether it is right or wrong. True or false? True. Write down. During during Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhi took the help of the organization of HRL. Gandhi took the help of the organization of HRL. Fine. So, see, these statements, if appeared, like if they appear in examination, no, under pressure, you are prone to commit mistakes because some of them seem illogical, but they are exceptions. They are exceptions. These things also happened. It is very difficult to believe, but whether you believe it or not, they happened. The examiner will be looking for these kind of things to trap you. Some things that are beyond the logic, something that are unbelievable, something that stand out as an exception. So there are a lot of such things, and the purpose is to enlighten you about these things so that you are not surprised in the examination hall. Understood? So when I say these things, jot it down, read it multiple times, because this is where most of the aspirants will go wrong. Okay? And people conveniently ignore modern India. Last time people did not know when Gandhi told sedition is my religion. Gandhi told sedition is my religion. Okay? Prelims happened in May. But in January, February, March also I took classes. Batch 1, 2, 3. Batch 1, 3 I took, I think. Did you write down that statement? Sedition is my religion. During which movement he told? CDM. Civil disobedience movement. People did not know this. And there were 3 stages in NCM. People did not also know that. Many people did not know that. I was surprised. Understood? Especially the students of Delhi and all, no? Like big people. They did not know there were 3 stages in NCM. But if that question is asked, no, I assume that you people will rock it. You will not commit any mistakes with regard to those basic or simple questions. Because that has been repeated in the class, and it was repeated in the APEC classes also. There is no room, there should be no room for mistake. If you commit wrong with regard to that, as I told you, it is not just 0.66 because you knew it, we discussed it, you understood that. Okay? So under pressure you committed some mistake. See, sitting in classroom in a relaxed way along with your friends, laughing, answering the question, that's a different story. Sitting in examination under that pressure, within that time frame, you have to make important decision. Every question that you mark can add to your success or take away your chances of success. Any positive thing can add to your success, any negative thing can pull you away from the cutoff. So under that pressure, no, marking this in real time, it is a big deal. So that is the reason when I show you the questions, don't take it lightly. Understood? Purposefully I have framed multi-statement questions. I would have given you like single statement questions, fill in the blanks kind of a thing. Purposefully I have drafted multi-statement questions. That is to help you think. Understood? I have tried my best to use the language very similar to that of UPSC. Okay? So some questions obviously it has to be easy, and UPSC also not 100 questions will be of expert level difficulty. There will be some easy questions. Understood? But there will be difficult questions. In some questions the language will be ambiguous. Just like directly demanded Swaraj. Language has to be ambiguous. It has to force you to think. It will test your basics. It will test your understanding in real time under the exam pressure. That is the challenge. Ileno naan kutidini heltin tappaitu andre there is no consequence, but there will be consequence. So you have to practice lot of questions. You have to face these ambiguities multiple times. That is what will correct your thought process. If you don't solve the questions, I'll give you one simple approach. See, as soon as the APEC classes today at 6 p.m. we'll wind up our classes. So after this, I want you to revise the class notes, whatever handouts that I gave you, you have to go through it multiple times. So whatever is there should be in the tip of your tongue. The class notes, whatever you wrote down, plus the handouts. And if you have any time left out, you can try revisiting your source book, whether it is your class notes or NCERT or any standard book that you are referred to previously and you are very well versed. It should not be like you are reading it first time. If first time ಹೊಸ book ತಗತೀನಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತೀನಿ, don't do that. So if you have not read NCERTs previously, leave it now. This is not the time to master NCERTs. The time is over. Before January you had that opportunity. Now don't do that. If you have already read class notes, read it. If you have already read NCERTs, read it again. Not an issue. But whatever we discussed, only about those topics. So this is the step 1 that you should be doing. So this is required. This is recommended. Required things you should must and do. Recommended, it's up to you. I'll recommend reading it. Okay, whatever that you have read previously for this subject, refer to that source again. Okay. Secondly, I want you to take up PYQs and solve it in exam-like conditions. 50 questions, 50 minutes. Try to solve it. Don't look at anything. Sit in exam-like condition, isolate yourself. Try to solve it. 50 questions, 50 minutes, not 60 minutes. Okay, try to solve it. And do the self-analysis. So in self-analysis also there are a lot of steps. First thing, you have to identify which all questions you are sure about, how many of them went right, how many of them went wrong. Second thing, if you are stuck in 50-50, how many of it went right, how many of it went wrong. Similarly, with regard to guess, how many guess you took, how many of it went right, went wrong. And this is your area of concern. Because there are some questions you thought you are very sure about, you are very confident about it, but still you went wrong. And there will be a lot of reasons behind it. You have done the theoretical stuff, you have attended the classes, you have revised the notes. Maybe you are failing somewhere in application of your knowledge, in exam-like conditions. In real time, there is something that is preventing you and forcing you to commit a mistake. So what is that? Understood? You have to pinpoint those areas of mistake. So these mistakes may be due to lack of conceptual clarity. Okay? Maybe you overread it, did not pay enough attention to the facts or the details given in the question. Maybe you over-analyzed it. And sometimes, as earlier somebody did, I was talking something, they took to some other area. Don't do that. When I am talking about few minutes ago, I asked you, Gandhi was Shishya of whom? People told M.G. Ranade. That is over-analysis. Understood? So, and sometimes, imagine, when you feel in the last 10 questions you have answered 9 of them correctly, sure shot, you will get bloated with the confidence. Now. Understood? So, it will be somewhere, because 9 out of 10 right. So, we feel our confidence levels will increase and we feel motivated. So, at that point of time, see, usually, I think you have seen this. Whenever the batsman scores century, in most of the circumstances, in the next 5 or 10 balls, he will get out. Because peak of his confidence sometimes can get overconfident. That is when he will forget all the basics. He'll try for some glory, something special. So that is when the mistakes happen. But in examination, once it is done, it is recorded. OMR sheet, you cannot change it. So don't do that. Okay, this is one of the reasons. And first thing, conceptual clarity can be corrected. How? Which all questions you went wrong? Make a list of topics where you went wrong. Read and revise again. Try to gain the conceptual clarity. Whatever was confusing for you, whatever facts you did not know, now try to know it. Okay? Conceptual clarity you can gain. But the remaining things are there, no? These are related to our mindsets. And to control these tendencies, you need to put in a lot of practice. First, you need to observe what makes you go wrong. Why you committed that mistake. Why you did not read that statement completely. Why you did not pay attention to these facts. Okay? Why you unnecessarily started overthinking or doing over analysis. What prompted you? There will be a trigger, no? So the purpose of analysis is to identify those triggers. Understood? So, while reading every question you went wrong, you have to revisit. Make a list of the question numbers where you went wrong, revisit them. Any statement you went wrong, if it is because conceptual clarity, don't worry. There is synopsis. You can always read it, gain that knowledge. That small bit or piece of knowledge which is missing, you can add to it. Not an issue. But other three things, ask yourself. Why I went wrong? Where I went wrong? What triggered me to go wrong? Why I did not read properly? So how can I overcome this? Okay? Even I had this problem. Sometimes I never read the statement completely. Okay? So Annie Besant is the first woman president of INC. Annie Besant is the founder of Theosophical Society. Never focused on the word founder. Annie Besant, Theosophical Society. Correct. That was the mindset. In between everything is grammar, no? Understood. So that was the mindset. Fine. So what I started doing, I practiced one simple thing. Let's say there is statement 1, 2, 3. What I do is, every statement, before I start reading it, I'll put one dot. And before marking this answer, I do this small ritual. There should be 2 dots besides all statements. 2 dots means I have read it twice. If 2 dots are not there, I am not going to mark that answer. I might be missing certain things. I need to read it freshly. I need a new perspective or a fresh perspective. Just by reading it once, I will not jump into the answer. See, OMR sheet doesn't count who answered it first. There is no grace mark or bonus mark for answering it first. OMR machine can only recognize right and wrong answers. Who marked first? Within so many microseconds, who marked? Nobody cares. Understood? So, you cannot impress a machine, man. In classroom, you can raise hands, impress someone. But in examination hall, you cannot impress a machine. So, it only differentiates between right and wrong answers. So, that should be your job. Preventing the mistakes. See, if you understand your weak areas, no, if you commit less mistakes, obviously your accuracy will increase and you will easily cross the cutoff line. Understood? It is not just by accumulating enormous amount of knowledge, you will be able to clear prelims. It is also through realizing your own weakness and trying your best not to commit it. And if you don't want to commit it, you should know how to control your tendencies. Understood? See, on the day of prelims, You should be the refined version of yourself. There will be a lot of impurities within us, lot of these tendencies which will prompt us to overthink, overreact, overanalyze, all these things. So the intent of solving the so many mock tests and all, it is to overcome these tendencies, these impurities within us, so that on the day of the examination, we need to be refined version of ourselves, and no matter whatever the trigger is, we should know how to control ourselves, calm down ourselves. Understood? So because, see, I commit a lot of mistakes with regard to geography related questions. That is my weak area, even today. So the moment I see geography related question, double alert. Fine. Only if I know it completely. In geography questions, I will put 3 dots, not 2. Because that is my strategy. Because, see, one simple wrong answer can pull me below the cutoff. I don't want that to happen. So, I know my weak area. See, knowing your weakness is the first thing. So, if you know it, you can work on it. Without knowing, there are hundreds of people who enter into examination hall without knowing their weakness, their tendencies, nothing. So, I want you to be a better person. So, first, look within yourself. Do not blame the exam, do not blame the pattern, do not blame UPSC, do not blame anyone. First, try to find the loopholes within you. Where you go wrong, why you go wrong, what is the trigger. And later, we will work on devising the steps on how to overcome these weaknesses. There are simple things. There are simple things. It doesn't require extravagant things. Fine? So, there are simple methods. Just like I told you, small dots. And how you manage the time in the examination also is very important. Tomorrow I will talk to you about time management. Okay? So, this is one important thing which I adopted. And I also adopted one more thing. Whenever there is a statement, I will try to underline every keyword. Understood? While reading it for the first time, I will underline. While reading it for the second time, I will circle it. This is to tell myself, I have paid attention to everything, at least twice. Understood? So, if it has just underlining, I will not mark that. If it has just one dot, I will not mark that. Because this is to tell myself, because accuracy has to be good. If you get 50 right and 40 wrong, what is the use? Understood? At least another 10 you should be able to convert. 60 right and 30 wrong, you will get through. Understood? 60 right means 120. 30 wrong means minus 20. 15 wrong is equal to minus 10 marks. So obviously 100, you will get through. So translating this 15 to 60, for that you require all these things. Understand? You should know where to stop, when to stop, which is your weak areas, which questions to pick, which questions to leave. See, in history, who is the greatest test player? Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, VVS Lakshman. They are the great test players. Do you know why they are great? Because they know which balls to pick, which balls to leave, let go. They are not known for hitting every ball for 6. They know how to pick the good balls. Understood? So that is the difference. In exam, you don't have to attend every question that is printed over there. So pick your areas. Pick your areas. If there is something which is beyond your understanding, understood? Leave that. Why to mess with that? Why to waste time on that? See, imagine there is some question on some rocket science. Okay, 10 layers deeper within DNA. Some PhD material they have asked question. In the first glance itself, you will understand, no, nange idu gotta ilva anta. So even if you read it 10 times, all of a sudden, can you become a Tirthankara with regard to DNA and rocket technology? Can you gain that knowledge? So, something which is not part of your awareness, you should let it go. Don't take it to ego. Don't try to mess with these kind of questions. As I told you, Dravid approach. Good balls, pick it. Bad balls, we don't want. Understood? I don't have answer for that. So why should I take it? Because a lot of people will not fail because of lack of knowledge. A lot of people will fail because of picking the wrong questions. Understood? As I told you, 50 right, 40 wrong will fail you. But 60 right and 30 wrong, understood, you will clear very comfortably. You can get 2 or 3 more rights, no, you will qualify for forest service also. 65 right and 25 wrong, you will qualify for forest service also. This is the game. So how to come from this to this? That is what I am talking. Understood? So knowledge is just one part of this process. Attitude, the mindset, how to deal with pressure, all these things assumes a lot of importance. Okay? So there was one student of mine. It was my first year with Insights, 2019. I was the mentor for core batch. And she's an IAS now. Kalpashri. She got rank 279 something. Okay. So she was very knowledgeable. She was writing wonderful answers, wonderful essays. So I was always evaluating her answers. In the past 2 attempts, she had failed. She had failed in clearing the prelims itself, despite having so much of knowledge. So I sat with her on multiple occasions to see where she was going wrong. I told her to do all this analysis. And she was very prompt in doing all these things. Then I understood there was no problem with her mindset also. The problem was with her time management. Understood? When she did not know 4 to 5 questions, no, she used to get panicked. Understood? And she used to commit a lot of mistakes between 50th to 100th minute. 50th to 100th minute. Understood? So from 10:20 to 11, she used to commit a lot of mistakes. 11, 11, 10. Right? There is a reason. We understood all these tendencies, why she used to go wrong, when she used to go wrong, where she used to go wrong, which type of questions she used to go wrong. Okay? So getting this diagnosis, see, when you go to doctor, no, they'll not directly prescribe you any treatment. They'll ask you to get the test done. So only then, using those diagnosis reports, they'll pinpoint the areas of weakness or the problems. So similarly is the preparation. So we need to know where you go wrong, why you go wrong, when you go wrong, all these things. That will help us to give you some doable solutions, some workable solutions. Fine. But ultimately, to get all these things done, you should solve at least 500 to 1000 questions per subject. Per subject. Because that is when, see, attending the classes, it is like filling a glass bottle with big rocks. It will look filled, but is it really filled? Understood? And even if you fill it with gravels, it can fill some loopholes. This is revision. Attending the mock test is like pouring sand. And even after you pour sand, there is still water, space left for water. That is fine tuning your strategy. Only then it is complete. Understood? People think filling these big rocks into that case itself is a big job. And some of them promptly try to solve the test series. Revise and solve. They think that's the end of the job. That is not it. Without proper mindset, if you enter into the examination hall, equipped with so many squads and all, you will not be able to clear. That is the difference. See, when toppers say hard work versus smart work, this is what they are talking about. Everybody will attend the classes, everybody will read NCERTs, people will solve test series also. But only some succeed, many don't. Why? This is the difference. Okay? So, this is something which I used to do in every attempt of mine. Analysis. It will take time. It will take time. But it is worth investing time. Because if you don't know yourself properly, if you don't know your weak areas properly, you'll never get an opportunity to correct yourself. And if you don't correct yourself today, don't expect yourself to be a refined version of yourself on day of exam. Don't expect yourself to clear this process. Because you don't know yourself. How can you correct the society? In ಒಳಗೆ ನೀನು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀನು ತಪ್ಪು ಸರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ what good can be your? Understood? Remember this. These might sound very simple things, but when you start doing it, it will add more value to your preparation. It will take time, but it is worth it. Do it. Okay. Tomorrow we'll talk about time management. Just remind me once. Fine. And where was I? Yen matartid papa? Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act ಯಾಕೋದ್ವಿ? ಓ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ HR ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೀವಾ ಬನ್ರೋ. ಲಿಮಿಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮಿಸ್ಟ್, ಓವರ್ ರಿಲಯನ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಹಿಂದೂ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, Shivadi festival, Ganesha festival, Durga Puja, Rakhi, etc. And this was exploited by the British to keep the Muslim masses away from the national movement, divide and rule policy, Nawab Salimullah, etc. Okay, and failed to understand the carrot and stick policy of British, leading to multiple splits in INC. Surat split, later 1919, Surendranath Banerjee walked away, etc. And inconsistent philosophy of Swaraj. Tilak, self-rule under British. Arvind Ghosh, complete independence. Understood? Lala Lajpat Rai, rule of Hindus. According to him, Swaraj means rule of Hindus. After 1916, he became the member of Hindu Mahasabha. Okay? So then, this was his opinion. Swaraj means rule of Hindus. Different perceptions. And they were socially reactionary in nature. On some instances, they appeared to oppose the reforms. As I have already told you, age of consent bill was opposed by Tilak. And age of consent bill wanted to raise the marriageable age of girls from 9 to 12 years. 9 to 12 years. So Tilak opposed it. And Tilak during HRL he strongly opposed untouchability, but in 1917 he refused to sign the petition demanding the abolition of untouchability, because Tilak was of the opinion that legal interventions, especially by foreign powers, can't be used as a tool to correct the religious issues, because Britishers have already demonstrated that they have the agenda of divide and rule. So you cannot allow them to interfere within our internal affairs, religious affairs. That was the idea of Tilak. But still, he opposed the reforms. So that is what we record in history. Okay. So contribution, annulment of partition of Bengal, national education, Swadeshi industries, okay, cultural nationalism, economic nationalism, mass movement, pioneers of mass movement in India. So widened the social base of INC. There are n number of contributions. And about partition of Bengal, no? I want you to write it down, because this will be one neglected area. Okay. So this was the line of division as per partition of Bengal. Two capitals were created. Calcutta, Dhaka. Okay. Muslim majority East Bengal, Hindu majority West Bengal. West Bengal, Bengalis were linguistic minority. So this was the idea: divide and rule policy, crushing the confidence, all these things. So now we all got to know that partition of Bengal was cancelled in 1911. So what happened to Bengal? Partition was cancelled. Fine. UPSC can play with you using this point. Did Bengal return to its original shape or initial shape after the partition was cancelled? Did it return back to this shape? Then what happened? Then what happened? See, after the cancellation of Partition of Bengal, what happened was both parts, West Bengal and East Bengal, were united together. West Bengal and East Bengal were united together. Assam was separated. Bihar and Orissa were separated. Okay. So did Bengal return back to its initial shape? No. Understood? So this is what happened. And Bihar and Orissa, they were together as one province. They were together as one province. And in 1935, they were also divided. Bihar separate, Orissa separate. Okay. So this is the story of partition. In 1905, it was divided like this. In 1911, when Partition of Bengal was cancelled, both parts of Bengal came together, but non-Bengali region like Assam, Bihar and Orissa were separated from Bengal. Only East and West Bengal was united. Okay. Bihar and Orissa were maintained as one separate state. Assam was created as another separate state. Okay. Later in 1935, Bihar separate, Orissa separate. Okay. This is the story. So you need to know this. Because UPSC can fool you by giving this statement. So partition was done in 1905. After the cancellation of partition, it came back to its initial shape. So we think, oh, the partition agittu. Ee line tegeದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದೇ shape ಅಲ್ವಾ? But that was not the case, because Bihar and Orissa were separated and Assam was separated. So remember this story. Okay. And now we will enter into the constitutional reforms. We will enter into the constitutional reforms. Okay. So open the handouts that I have given you. Few minutes ago you got one handout, no? New handout. So open that. So the first section below the name of the act, it indicates the reasons or the causes why that reform was introduced. What was the need? Okay, need of the reform. See, for regulating act, the reason was, see, the officials of East India Company were becoming very powerful, because they had made a lot of profits by trading with India, private trade, corruption, bribe. They had become very powerful, and they were influencing the British Parliament. Obviously, Ambani ji and Adani ji can influence the Parliament decisions. They are so wealthy, they are so powerful. Okay. But in England, the lawmakers, the parliamentarians, they got awakened. They did not get carried away. They told, if they continue to grow like this, if they continue to enrich themselves like this, one or the other day, they'll buy the Parliament itself. Therefore, what they did, they wanted to regulate and control the activities of East India Company in India. Because East India Company was a private company that was ruling over India, making profit and using that profit to buy influence in England. So they wanted to regulate or control the activities of East India Company in India. Therefore, the first point, private corporate ruling over public territories. East India Company was a private corporate company ruling over public territory. Secondly, the need for regulating the East India Company affairs to preserve its profits, at the same time bring down its corruption, private trade, bribe, all these things, we have to bring it down. Okay. And lastly, you have to show Parliament is supreme than any other private company. Parliament is supreme, you have to show. Understood? So now, you might ask me a question. Sir, East India Company, as you told, it was making a lot of profit, they were very influential. Then how did they allow the British government to pass this law? situation. East India Company was making a lot of profit, no doubt. But in 1770s, there was American Revolution, Boston Tea Party, etc. Tea trade in America, it was one of the most profitable business. And that business took a great hit because of Boston Tea Party and American War of Independence, American Revolution. So, East India Company had to face lot of losses due to its trade with America. See, imagine, they have taken trade from tea from India, they have taken it to America. Tons together of tea. What Americans did? Took this tea, threw it into ocean. They told American Boston Tea Party. Tagan samudra kestu tea party andru. British kestu whatever ivada. They have put in a lot of effort, spent so many resources to purchase the tea from India and China and take it till the shores of America. There, they destroyed everything. And this was causing very huge amount of loss to British East India Company. And because of these losses, they had to request the British government. At the same time, they had fought numerous wars in India. Numerous wars. First Anglo-Mysore War, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, Battle of Chinsura, numerous small battles. They had fought numerous wars. And to fight the war, obviously, you require money, men, and materials. So they have spent most of it. And on top of it, American Revolution, it hurted their economic prospects very severely. So now, the company was in loss. Officials, see, there will be a lot of corrupt officials or corrupt ministers. When the government is running in fiscal deficit, will they give the money to government? Tagoli sir, itkoli. Next to surplus banda iskontini. Nobody. So the company was in loss. Officials, whatever money they have made through corrupt practices, it retained with them. Now company officially has to go to the government and request, sir, to continue the trade, we require some support as well as money from the government. Some financial support we want. Please give it. Because the shareholders of the company in England, no, as I told you, East India Company was a public shareholding company. The shareholders of the company had become very angry against East India Company. See, that is the nature of the shareholders, because everybody wants profit. And if any company suddenly, all the while they have given profit, suddenly it is making losses, shareholders will be extremely angry. So you have to calm down the sentiments and you need to have government on your side. Therefore, they requested the government, sir, please support us. Because public sentiment is against us. Plus we want some money support, financial support, please give it. So British government was waiting for such opportunity. Because earlier the company officials has tried to use their financial power to influence the British Parliament itself. So now they thought this is the opportunity, we should not let it go. They told, okay, we'll give you money, and for that there are certain terms and conditions which you have to oblige. So East India Company was in a desperate situation. They told, okay sir, whatever terms and conditions we are ready to accept. And that terms and condition was this Regulating Act. Okay, we will regulate the affairs of East India Company in India. We will control it. That was Regulating Act of 1773. I cannot include all the story there, so I am telling you. So now what were the provisions? The provisions, don't worry, just follow my explanation, you will understand everything. See, in three areas, there were three British governors in India. British presence in India was mostly predominant in these three areas. Correct? No? Their presence was predominant in these three areas. Okay? And now, among these three, who had done a lot of achievements? Bengal. Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, Diwani raids. Understood? So, what they did? They made the governor of Bengal as Governor General of Bengal. Okay, don't write like this. They made the governor of Bengal as Governor General of Bengal. And other two governors became his subordinates. Okay, so this is the point number 1. And point number 2 is Governor General of Bengal cannot be an expert in everything. Revenue, trade, okay, defense, etc. He cannot be an expert in everything. Therefore, they told there will be 4-member executive council. There will be 4-member executive council along with the Governor General. Okay, and any decision will be taken on the basis of majority. Any decision will be taken on the basis of majority. Okay, so now because of this, there was a lot of deadlocks, political deadlocks. So Governor General did not have a major say. He was not having this predominant position. There were a lot of disputes, and this stuck the decision making. The 4th point is the establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta, and it was having the jurisdiction over British subjects only, not Indians, only British subjects. Those Britishers in India, if they have any problem with each other, they can go to Supreme Court of India at Calcutta. Okay, and there was a problem with this. Its jurisdiction overlapped with East India Company courts, overlapping jurisdiction. See, because most of the Britishers at that time, they were coming to India for trading purpose only. If there is dispute between two traders, now they have two options. One, they can go to Supreme Court of India at Calcutta, or they can go to Company Court. Imagine, me and you will have a dispute. You want to go to Supreme Court of Calcutta, I want to go to Company Court. Both of us will go. I will go to Company Court, you will go to Supreme Court. One matter being decided in two courts. So now, what is the hierarchy? No, there was no clarity on this. That became the problem. Company Court will give ruling in my favor, and Supreme Court will give ruling in your favor. So which decision will stand? No clarity. Overlapping jurisdiction. So thus became the very important problem. And the 5th point, as I told you, the East India Company officials, they were not allowed to engage in private trade. They were not allowed to accept bribe. They were not allowed to engage in private trade. They were not allowed to accept bribe. Okay. So, at the same time, there will be the Court of Directors of East India Company. They have to submit report to Parliament on administration in India, civil, military, commercial, everything, whatever is going on, they have to periodically update the British Parliament. This is regulating act. So you can keep an eye on their activity. You give supreme position to one person, okay, to help him you appointed 4 more persons, and to resolve the dispute among Britishers in India you set up Supreme Court, and you told the company servants do not engage in corrupt activities. Okay, so this is regulating act. In book you might have like 1 or 2 points, or at max 3 or 4 points, but now we have more points. Okay, but this created a lot of problem. As I told you, one is overlapping authority, Another one, the deadlock here. This was leading to deadlock. It hindered the decision making because many a times members and the Governor General, they differed. So this was not good for decision making. So now to solve all these problems, there was which act? Pitt's India Act. And in Pitt's India Act, they tried to maintain the same structure. They told Governor General of Bengal will be the supreme authority, no change in that, and he will be having the control over the governors of Madras and also Bombay, no change in that also, they will be the subordinates. But now, there will be only 3 members in the Executive Council, and Governor Generals will be the first among equals. Will be the first among the equals. So now his decision will have more value. Now Governor General's decision will have more value. Even if there is a tie, whichever side he is on, he is going to win. So he was given prominence. So the political deadlock which used to happen earlier with regard to decision making, that was resolved. Okay. Secondly, this was the first point. Secondly, now just remember this word. This is the crux of everything. Board of Control and Court of Directors. What is Board of Control? It is filled by the British cabinet members. The top ministers in England, they are going to be the members of Board of Control. And there will be company directors. So they will take care of commercial activities and they will take care of civil, revenue and military affairs. So there was clear delineation of responsibilities. Who is going to do what? No overlap, no confusion, nothing. Whatever problems that arose before, it was now, most of it was sorted out. Okay. And this was the important thing. And with regard to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of Calcutta, they told trade related issues has to go only to East India Company courts, company courts. Other disputes can go to Supreme Court. Trade related disputes should only go to company courts, because trade, no. Understood? That confusion was also solved. Now East India Company was told after every 20 years you have to renew your license. Okay. In 1773 they were told. So as a part of that, they have to get their license renewed. And that is Charter Act of 1793. Charter Act of 1793. So there is only few simple things in this chart. One is East India Company was allowed to have monopoly on trade with India and trade with China. The monopoly continued because it was giving a lot of profit. They did not want to disturb anything. Okay. And at this point of time, French Revolution was going on and England was fighting a lot of wars, and the British government was in need of revenue that was provided by East India Company. Desperate need. They wanted the revenue. stable source of revenue. Therefore, they did not disturb any arrangement. They did not take up any reform in the Charter Act. They told, okay, whatever you are doing, continue, not an issue for us. Understood? Because British government now needed the money. They did not change anything. Okay? And they also told from now onwards, the salaries of East India Company officials will be paid from Indian revenue. Paid from Indian revenue. Two intentions. One, they wanted to reduce the burden on the British government. Secondly, if company officials are engaged in a lot of private trade and corrupt practices, the company revenue will come down. Company revenue will come down. So this was an indirect way of telling them, Guru, focus on increasing the revenue of the company, not your personal revenue. Because if there is any shortage in the revenue, government is not going to pay for your salaries. Understood? Do not focus on personal trade, rather maintain only the official trade. This was an indirect way of telling them. No major change because of French Revolution and numerous wars. And the next important thing came in 20 years later. Every 20 years they have to renew their license. So, in this, what they told? East India Company, they told, okay, you can maintain monopoly on two things, trade with China and tea trade. But trade with India, East India monopoly, the monopoly of East India Company ended. Okay? Because of the inefficiencies of East India Company only. There was industrial revolution. British industries required a lot of inputs. But East India Company was unable to meet so much of requirements. So they thought, we have to remove the monopoly, we have to allow others also. Because whenever there is competition, the British industries will get better price discovery. If there is monopoly, East India Company will start exploiting the British industries also. They will demand higher prices for Indian cotton, Indian indigo, etc. So therefore, the British government thought, we'll abolish the monopoly. Because we want better price discovery for British industries. So they told, abolished. So except for tea trade and trade with China, other monopolies abolished. Okay? And then, for the first time, they told EIC areas in India as British territories. And they told, as long as the crown wants, let it be under East India Company only. So they are ruling it on behalf of British crown. Okay? Lastly, they also told rupees 1 lakh for promotion of education, literature in India, and this act also led to introduction of Christian missionaries in India. And this Christian missionaries was the very important reason behind socio-religious reforms in India, spread of English education in India, Western thoughts in India, Westernization, and also socio-religious reforms. When our socio-religious practices came under the attack by the foreigner, we thought it is our responsibility to reform it. Understood? Whether it was sati or opposition to widow remarriage, opposition to girl education, a lot of our loopholes were exploited by these missionaries, and they were using it as a tool to convert a lot of people into Christianity. They were using it as an excuse to showcase themselves as better than the Hindu society. So we thought, like the Indian reformers thought, we will change, we will reform, we ourselves will eliminate all these practices, so that there is no question of other religions being better than us, there is no question of getting converted, all these things. So we tried to, this was an indirect reason for us to start socio-religious reforms. Okay? And here The nature of education was not defined, whether Indian education, Gurukula education, Western education, and that is why it led to Anglicist versus Orientalist controversy. Okay, see, I have researched and prepared the notes in such a way that even if you read Lakshmikant and all, you will be having only little information, some facts, but this is to help you to identify any possible questions from this topics, you will be able to answer it. Because UPSC might not continue to ask in which act Governor of Bengal was called as Governor General of Bengal, in which act Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India. They might not continue to ask these kind of questions. They might go deeper. Okay, they might ask for broad understanding of the topic of these provisions. Therefore, I am giving the reasons why they introduced the reforms. I am giving the features or the provisions of the reforms as well as the outcomes of the reforms as well. So I want you to read this handout multiple times so that you are familiar with all these things. Okay. And lastly, the Charter Act of 1833, it made East India Company as a pure commercial administrative body. Pure administrative body, because all the commercial activities of the East India Company was abolished. Understood? All these trade activities, it was abolished. East India Company became pure administrative body. Second thing, 1833, it is very important for us because the examination that you are preparing for ICS, that was introduced. Open competitive examination for ICS was introduced. And Britishers told one very important thing. There was a civil service declaration, and in that declaration they clearly told no discrimination on grounds of religion, race, creed in civil service recruitment. But Deepada Kelage Kattale, they discriminated against Indians only. Indians were not allowed to appear in this examination. 1833. Indians were allowed in 1853. That is another story. Okay. And in this act, Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India. Who was the first Governor General of India? William Bentinck. And this is a PYQ. Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India as per which act? William Bentinck. And Governor General of India was given two responsibilities. One, he'll act as legislature also, he'll act as executive also. He'll be responsible for framing the laws also, he'll be responsible for implementing those laws also. So, Governor General, legislative functions plus executive functions given to same person. He will only frame the laws, he will only implement the laws. There is no separation of powers. There is no checks and balance, and concentration of powers can always lead to abuse of power, and that is what happened. That is what happened. For the period of next 20 years, there was severe abuse of power by the Governor Generals. So as a result, in 1853, what they will do? They will make the differentiation. They will make the differentiation. ILC, Imperial Legislative Council, Charter Act of 1853. ILC was started, Imperial Legislative Council, mini parliament. Okay, it was separated. The legislative and executive functions of Governor General was separated. When? Charter Act of 1853. To take care of legislative functions, Imperial Legislative Council, in bracket mini parliament, was introduced. It is not there, right? 1853 ಇದೆಯೋ ಮತ್ತೆ ಖಾಲಿ ಜಾಗ ಏನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು? Okay. And then Indians were allowed for ICS exam. Indians were allowed for ICS exam. Okay. And legal experts were included in ILC, Imperial Legislative Council. Legal experts were included in ILC. Okay. And last point, no assurance about renewal of charter. No assurance about renewal of charter. They did not renew the license. They told, okay, for now you continue to rule, but we don't know when your rule is going to end. So clearly expressed the intent of beginning of crown rule in India. So the British Empire, the crown, was thinking about taking over the administration in India anytime soon. They were mentally preparing for that. Okay. So no assurance about the license being renewed for another 20 years. There was no assurance. Okay. So, and you have to remember, this is the beginning of ILC. And write down, no Indian representation in ILC. No Indian representation in ILC. Okay. In ILC, there were no Indian members. So now, let us end this here. Tomorrow, we'll start with Government of India Act 1858, and we'll go up to Government of India Act 1935. So this, ಏನಪ್ಪ tomorrow holiday na? Lytton, ಬಂದ್ರೋ, ಬಡ Lytton, very important. ಮನೆಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಮರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಕಣ ನೀನು. Lytton, see what were the things undertaken by Lytton? Very simple. First point, let's go in sequence. Let's go in sequence. Maladministration during famine. Maladministration during famine. 1876-77. No relief efforts, no help to the masses, no exemption, okay, from payment of land revenue. And he appointed one famine committee called as Swarajya Committee. Swarajya Committee. Famine committee established by, set up by whom? Lytton. Okay. And then at the same point of time, organized Royal Darbar. Organized Royal Darbar. Despite famine. Next point, Second Anglo-Afghan War, 1877-78. Second Anglo-Afghan War, 1877-78. When Indians did not have food to eat, he was using Indian men, money and material to expand the empire in Afghanistan. That is something which we did not like, we did not appreciate. All these things were criticized in newspaper. Therefore, Vernacular Press Act. Vernacular Press Act. They got scared. that there might be a revolt in India, therefore Arms Act, 1878, Arms Act. Indians were not allowed to carry unlicensed arms. Indians weren't allowed to carry unlicensed arms. Arms Act 1878. Okay. Last point. Reduce the age of entry for Indians into civil services. Reduce the age of entry for Indians into civil services from 21 to 19 years. Okay. Now Ripon. Ripon. First Factories Act. First Factories Act, 1881. As the name itself says, it is the first act related to labor laws in India. So, protection of women and child labor. Protection of women and child labor. Living conditions of work. Limited hours of work. Okay. Living conditions and limited hours of work. Okay. Next point. Rendition of Mysuru, 1881. Rendition. 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 Rendition of Mysore, 1881. Last 50 years, Mysuru was under commissioners' rule. Kabban, Bowring, etc. So they had taken away the power from the rulers of Mysuru. Now it was given back to Odayars. Right on? End of 50 years of commissioner rule. End of 50 years of commissioner rule. And the power was restored to Chamaraja Odayar 10. The power was restored to Chamaraja Odayar 10. Okay. Next point. Repeal of Vernacular Press Act in 1882. Repeal of Vernacular Press Act in 1882. Repeal of Vernacular Press Act in 1882. Okay. Next point. Appointment of Hunters Committee on Education, 1882. Appointment of Hunters Committee on Education, 1882. Okay. So put hyphen and write. Emphasized on spreading primary and secondary education. Spreading primary and secondary education. And enhance teachers' training. Okay. Next point. Promotion to local self-governments. Put an hyphen. Decentralize the power to municipal boards. Decentralized the power to municipal boards and district committees. Decentralize the power to municipal boards and district committees. Therefore, known as father of local self-government in India. Therefore, known as father of local self-government in India. Okay. Next point. Ilbert Bill controversy. Ilbert Bill controversy. 1883, 1884. 1883, 1884. Ilbert Bill controversy. Put hyphen. An attempt to allow Indian judges to adjudicate the cases involving British. And thereby introduce judicial equality and uniformity. But the reforms were held back due to opposition. By European community in India. Opposition by the European communities in India. Last point, land tenancy reforms, 1885. Land tenancy reforms, 1885. In bracket, set up rent committee in 1880. Rent committee in 1880, and based on that, I will close the bracket. Based on its report, try to protect the interests of tenants, peasants or tenants, limiting the rents, and thereby control the atrocities of zamindars. Okay. These are the important measures that were taken during. Who was the viceroy during the establishment of INC? I don't know whether he was Lord or not, but his name is Dufferin. Okay. Till mid 1885 it was Ripon. After that it was Dufferin. This is the case. So don't get confused. That throughout 1885, Ripon was not the viceroy of India. Okay. So tomorrow from 1885 till 1935, and then we'll proceed with Gandhian reforms. Gandhian movement. Okay. So thank you all. See you all tomorrow.